Well friends, in 2009, Manchester United, with Sir Alex Ferguson the champion of the Premier League, would face Pep Guardiola's Barcelona, who that year would win absolutely everything. And it would also be the beginning of an era of a battle between Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi to see who is the best, not only in the world, but even in history. In this Champions League final, one of the most epic matches in the history of football. And in this video we will analyze how Guardiola did to beat the team that at the time was also the reigning European champion. And as we said, the best team in England. Before we start, please leave your like below for YouTube to recommend this video. And without further ado, let's begin. Pep Guardiola's Barcelona would go into this match with their typical 4-3-3. The surprise was that there was Silvino, because Abidal had been punished with a red card in the last game. And Carlos Puyol would play on the other flank because Daniel Alves was suspended for accumulation of yellow cards. Tour and Peak would be the central defenders for Barcelona in the final. Meanwhile in midfield, we would see one of the midfields that would make history. Xavi, Busquets and Iniesta would play alongside Henry, Samuel Eto'o and Lionel Messi up top. Quite a fearsome team. Although United would also start with their 4-3-3, with a typical defense composed of Ebra, Asia, Ferdinand and Nemanja Vidic. In midfield, unfortunately, Fletcher would not be available, but he would start with Anderson, Carrick and Ryan Giggs, while up front Ferguson would surprise by using Cristiano Ronaldo as a 9. And he would put Rooney as a winger as well as Jae-Sung Park on the other side. So from the start we could see how, unlike Barcelona, United would have a quite different 11, because Cristiano Ronaldo used to play on the wing, as a winger, and it is surprising because Barcelona's full-backs that day would be depleted. So that would draw a lot of attention. Why not take advantage of Cristiano on the wing, along with not using Paul Scholes or Carlos Tevez to start? A rather strange 11 by Alex Ferguson. And if we simply compare the teams, we have to recognize that we were witnessing Barcelona's golden era. Line by line, Barcelona had a better team, except in defense where they were more balanced. But just that would not be a problem for Barcelona because they found in their better defense the attack, to have possession. And this is important because many people, when they remember this game, ignore that in that final United started the game very well. Manchester United were actually superior in the first few minutes. Ferguson came out with a lot of high pressing and in the first 20 minutes managed to take the ball away from Barcelona. He tried to attack in a very direct way. He had a very vertical game. As soon as he had the ball, he tried to get to Valde's goal as soon as possible, so that it would not be played in his own area, and even try as much as possible to recover the ball in the Barcelona area, or in the middle of the field. However, when we saw the type of pressure we realized that the organization of it was not so good and that this was going to last as long as the physique lasted. Unfortunately, when United had the ball they didn't generate as good chances because Ferguson really made a mistake by switching Rooney and Cristiano Ronaldo. And we will be seeing this constantly in the match. Cristiano doesn't play so comfortably as a 9. And even though he was Manchester United's most dangerous player, and he was during all the match, because he was looking to get forward, he was looking to turn, he was looking for shots, he was always surrounded by players. United didn't make moves or they couldn't get the mark off him, they couldn't generate as much space or clear plays in front of Valde's goal. This team was not managing to have depth because they were looking for the long ball to Cristiano so that he could define the game. At least that seemed to be the case. So United's main strategy seemed to be to look for the back of Barcelona's defenders with long balls to Cristiano Ronaldo. For example, we have this play where I think if Rooney had been the 9, he obviously had the ability to hold the ball, to make the same moves as Cristiano, and this would have benefited CR7 to have more space starting from the wing, to be able to have more freedom and to be able to play more facing the goal, and not so much with his back to it, because in this way he would have been more dangerous. But Ferguson also made another mistake. He put Rooney on the left and Giggs on the right. This did not allow us to see good crosses, which would be something you would expect United to look for when you put Cristiano Ronaldo as a 9, to take advantage of his aerial game. That's how you can see that even though United were superior at the time, they looked more dangerous. As you can hear the commentators saying it because Barcelona was really lost.
No dura nada la posesión del Barça.
De momento el Barça está empezando titubeante estos inicios de partido.
El Barça está francamente mal. Le veo nervioso, inseguro con sus envíos. Le veo desorientado. Tal vez sorprendido por la actitud de Manchester United. Uno muy ofensivo desde el comienzo.
Del área. Ahí está Touré ya metiendo arriba para Leo Messi. Primera pelota de Leo, toca a Puyol y siguen sin encontrarse los jugadores del Barça.
because they were not even connecting good passes and that United had 5 shots to Barcelona's 0. There came a specific play where we started to see these problems of structure that I am telling you about Manchester United. This obsession with looking for Cristiano Ronaldo on the long side led to a bad pass where United was left open, and Iniesta completely free makes a wall with Messi that allows him to overcome this line. This play would be the beginning of what would be a recital of Iniesta in the whole match, for me the most important player of Barcelona in this final. And it would also be the perfect example to start to see Guardiola's masterful strategy, how to start to disorganize Manchester United by using Messi to exploit the spaces generated with Eto'o and Henry. And this is exactly where the first goal came, just when Manchester United were playing better. When Iniesta breaks this line, finds Eto'o on the right flank who completely breaks Vidic and scores a great goal. All this in the first chance Barcelona had in the match, which was not at all comfortable and was not superior. It came just at the best moment of United, and this collapsed the Red Devils, despite Cristiano asking them to calm down. The team started to play the ball badly. They started to be more disorganized than before. And this is where the role of Iniesta, who started to play a great game together with Messi, and the rest of the team, began. Messi is a false 9, going down to the midfield generated numerical superiority, and Iniesta with the freedom he had allowed us to see this Tiki-Taka. See for example how Messi here from the back arrived completely alone. In fact Anderson is marking him, but he is not going to get to the mark. And Ferdinand was very attentive. This is what Barcelona were looking for, to generate this kind of space to occupy it. Something really difficult, and that, despite Barca doing well, was complicated because Vidic and Ferdinand are very high-level center-backs. But that's why it was important to highlight Iniesta's role, because Iniesta overcoming lines, if they already had numerical advantage, it was really Ferdinand and Vidic who ended up stopping him. So, as you can see, and in fact Messi's first shot was until the 18th minute, just when Barcelona were making more of the game. Cristiano was actually playing a better game than Messi, but he was not finding partners up top. It was just him. And in Barca we saw a perfect communion. Cristiano was more dangerous when he was seen on the wings, as on this occasion. But Barca intelligently always stopped him with technical or tactical fouls that sometimes were not even marked by the referee. So it was that in the first half we could see how Barcelona even let United out at times. I had the ball a little bit more, because Barcelona could feel comfortable in defense with that line of 5 at the back, to avoid what they were mentioning about Ferguson, which was to have Rooney, there he made a couple on the wing, Cristiano a little more centered, looking for his back. There was always an extra player for Barcelona for every play they looked for with a United striker. That last line was very attentive, back or forward enough along with the Valdez who knew when to come out, to avoid just these balls in behind that United were looking for. And even here we can see how Barcelona, by giving a little bit of space to United, could have a 2-against-1 with Anderson. And it was as if Guardiola was looking for the ball to come to Carrick on purpose, so that he couldn't find any passing options. Therefore we could see a mistake. In other words, Barca were forcing United's mistake on Carrick, at the same time pressuring him to throw an even quicker ball, where Barcelona was better positioned for the second moves or for second plays or split balls. They could have the ball and then they had better options to attack. So really Barcelona were brilliant with and without the ball, all as a result of the goal they scored from Iniesta's magnificent play. It was clear that Guardiola had the game better studied. He was patient, and like Ferguson he was really more concerned about playing a game against Barcelona where he didn't want to take risks, because that's why Rooney wasn't playing as a 9 but on the wing. That's why he didn't play with Scholes, because if you played with them, whether it was Rooney as a 9, whether it was Cristiano on the wing, whether it was Paul Scholes, you could have generated better chances when you had the ball. But you were doing the opposite, Cristiano in a position he doesn't like 9. And his strategy was just to throw balls to him and try to be solid at the back. That is how we arrived at halftime, where Ferguson would obviously have to make changes. And precisely at the beginning of the second half, the first change he made was to immediately put Carlos Tevez on. A more offensive change because he ends up taking Anderson off, and that would be a key that would begin to cost Ferguson the game later on. Although in the second half we could see that at least Rooney moved to the right wing and Jason Park moved to the left wing, where Tevez is really like a second striker behind Cristiano or joining in with him, but also getting into the midfield to press. And so when Tevez goes into the midfield, he is looking to balance the numerical superiority that Barcelona had there. But as I say, in the second half we did not really see a Barca with 70% of the possession. As much as they had numerical superiority in the middle of the pitch, Barca were not being overwhelming or superior in possession. The big difference between the two teams was in terms of order and organization. In Ferguson's case, he was not taking advantage when he had the ball, but also because he was not using his pieces well and he would make an even bigger mistake. But well, this is how at the beginning of the second half we could see how Tevez, as I told you, became a kind of midfield player behind Cristiano. And the idea could be correct when he balances the midfield, but as the team was not well positioned in many moments, left a lot of space between the lines, you took away a midfielder at the end of everything. Then there was not that rigorousness that we see today in marking, and it is natural because Tevez, Rooney, and Cristiano are not totally defensive players. Meanwhile, at Barcelona we saw how he had a better idea of how to take advantage of the spaces, a better concept of the spaces, and a better execution when it came to taking advantage of them. So, even though they had the same amount of players as Barcelona and they could be balanced in the marking, we could see how Barcelona, with their movements, could generate these triangles where they had quite clear passing lines and where it was going to be difficult for United to take the ball away from them. Because Barca always had passing options, while United was just piling up players, and that doesn't make you score well. Here we can see, for example, how Messi receives again, forces Vidic to come out and starts to generate this space, while Xavi is all alone next to him, where if Messi gives the ball to Xavi we could see this situation. Vidic would be left in a 2-on-1 between Xavi and Messi. Messi could occupy the space left by Vidic. But Messi's genius lies in the fact that Messi doesn't run directly into space, it's the opposite. Barca progresses slowly as Vidic tries to recompose his position, and they don't realize that they leave Messi all alone and he decides not to advance. While Barca attacks down the flank with Enrique, for me he makes a mistake. Instead of putting in a cross, he should have looked for Messi on the edge of the box. But that's just it. We could see how Barcelona were much better on the ball. United could have done even better than they could have done. And here we even see how they make a mini rondo to Tevez, but it is an example of how when United restructures itself, they did not have so many problems to win the ball back. The problem is that United was well organized in some moments and poorly organized in others. Actually, when they were best organized was in the first 20 minutes of the game. If they had done that more, they would have had more chances to come back in this game. However, Barcelona gave them no chance of this. They were a much more organized team. Really, that's what they bring to modern soccer, so to speak. To force the teams to have to be too organized at every moment of the game. They were a much more organized team. And I can show you this other example. United are not well organized. We have Iniesta in front of us who, if he gets past you in lines, makes this play extremely dangerous. Xavi, when he sees this, he breaks free, and in this same play we can also see his genius. And because he is a completely different player, as Xavi is going to have 4 passing options. But Xavi immediately, as soon as he turns with the ball, takes the best passing decision in a matter of seconds, without thinking about it. Because if Xavi plays, for example, with Busquets, who was also alone next to him, and they could progress, maybe they would give United time to rejoin him. If he goes directly with Messi, Messi is not really the player who is farthest away from him. And Xavi went with the player who was furthest away, closest to the goal and with the most opportunities to do damage. We see how Henry faces as Vidic has to keep an eye on Messi. So as much as it's a 3-on-3, it looks like if Henry gets past his marker, everything becomes a 2-against-1 in favor of Barcelona. If Henry gets past this player, there is a 2-on-1 from Messi and from him to Ferdinand. In the end, Henry looks for the 1-on-1 and Van der Sar ends up saving for United. Then I can give you another example because, as I say, Barca when defending was also brilliant. Here we can see how only Messi is behind the ball, while we can see all these United players really wasted. I mean, unlike Barcelona, each specific player has a function that helps you to have passing options, to be able to have passing options, to be able to progress at the start of the game. And here again we see what I said. It's as if Barcelona were looking for United to play with Carrick. Barcelona's pressure, helped by United's poor start and organization. Carrick is forced to throw in a ball, and that's why he even has great merit, for example, in Madrid today. If Carrick, for example, was a player like Modric or Toni Kroos who are capable of giving this pass, leaving Gizampari in, Gizampar would be able to see this play in a different way. But that's just it. You nowadays see how a Madrid team positions itself much better than this. And actually this kind of play becomes part of strategy, because Barcelona is still taking a risk in this pressure. So it shows us how this worked particularly for Barcelona when they were facing teams. That maybe didn't have as much quality at the start. But what I want to highlight here is the number of players who are poorly positioned and inefficient when it comes to pressing, and are inefficient when it comes to building United's game. And as I got the impression that Guardiola was really looking for this. He knew that Carrick wasn't that good on these balls and that Barca were going to be able to win the ball back. So also to play on the counter, to play long passes is not what they sell us that it's very easy. It really requires players with quality. Players who can withstand the pressure, who don't get desperate with the ball at their feet, with good vision. But as I say, not everything at United was completely bad. When United were well organized, we could see good examples like these. Although unfortunately there were players who didn't have a great game either. Like for example Rooney, who despite not being in a position that favored him, he had options to give something more and he didn't take advantage of them. I can give you an example like this one where we can see one of the best moments of United. In the second half where they could have the ball a bit more. When they didn't get desperate and looked for that ball up top so often. They looked more dangerous against a Barcelona team that was defending with practically everyone. They simply had Messi up top to press, and all the rest of the players were in the back in a low block. We practically had a 5-4-1 Barcelona defense or a 4-5-1 at certain times. With this we can see how Barcelona hardly gave space. And just as United failed because their wing options were the most important but they didn't put in good crosses, and they still couldn't get any depth because of Barcelona's defense. Because in the same way, that's why I say that I thought Cristiano from the back nine was a waste. Because in those moments you needed someone who could run down the flanks. You had a Tevez and a Rooney who were more dangerous on the inside and a Cristiano who could be even more dangerous on the outside. Rooney on the wing seems to me to be a very serious mistake, and to be thinking more about what Barca can do to you than Barca being afraid of you. That's the difference between Guardiola's bravery and how he knows how to use his pieces, and what you can envy of Cruyffism or the idea of Barcelona's game. A more offensive approach than the opponent, be the one who worries about you. Guardiola knew how to use Eto'o, Henry and Messi in attack as well as in defense. There was not much difference because even a Tevez or a Rooney and Cristiano could be more defensive. At the end of the three United players, Cristiano was the one who was trying the most, and he was United's best overall. But it was more unbelievable that United failed to get a good cross in. Ferguson's idea remained the same. Long balls, ineffective crosses, and evidently Barcelona were very comfortable with this. That's why it wasn't that they had a lot of the ball or that they were completely subduing United through possession. It was that they were more intelligent when they had the ball. And in fact, Barcelona had even more physical wear and tear. This play, for example, shows you what United lacked. Here is a very good organization which helps them to win the ball back. Cristiano Ronaldo offers himself. When he offered himself, he generated this superiority. And here with this touch, Cristiano creates a great option for United, where Cristiano, Tevez and Rooney are in a 3 against 2 in their favor. Cristiano pulls Peak out of his place, Rooney attacks on the flank, and Cristiano attacks the space left for Peak to go out and mark him. But Rooney, as I said, had a terrible game. Cristiano took advantage of his speed and got in front of Toure, and even that. And even Jason Park was coming in alone on the wing. Rooney took a long time to get the pass in. Rooney wasn't right in the game. Was either too late or at other times too hasty. And strangely Ferguson did not put Cristiano on the wing, where he could do the most damage. And before going to this breaking point of the match where Barca wins the match, we have to talk about Iniesta's great game. I want to mention specifically what Iniesta did because it was incredible. I mean, he was giving a dance to the entire United midfield. He was doing what he wanted, he was everywhere, he was breaking lines. He did it with passes, with dribbles, with a lot of mobility. That's why for me Iniesta was more than Xavi, even the commentators said so. Barca were not showing how to play the third man. For example here with Busquets playing with Eto'o, while Xavi plays completely alone. It was really a brutal difference at that moment, to see how they understood the space and the generation of space. A team like Barcelona and Manchester United. In the 65th minute Ferguson finally put the game to bed. He brought on Berbatov for Jason Park, which made United's midfield practically disappear, and he made a brutal mistake because it wasn't really that more strikers were needed. When you don't generate clear chances, the problem is not that there is a lack of strikers. And although he does it because his proposal is to continue with the same thing, to look for balls up top, try to recover in Barcelona's area. Almost instantly Barca's second goal arrives, where you can see how many defenders United have. We see that there is no midfielder. Cristiano even tries to go down, and unbelievably what United did not achieve with Cristiano Ronaldo. Barcelona did achieve with a pass from Xavi, which is a masterful cross, who also has an incredible merit, making a header that is not normal for him. And maybe it wasn't Messi's great match, or maybe it wasn't the best of the match, but he scored a great headed goal. And I can't say that it's Ferdinand's fault because who would have expected that he would get a cross of the level that Xavi's cross was to Messi, much less Messi's header. Ferdinand really couldn't do anything about such a perfect cross. He had all the advantage for Messi. Maybe the one who can be reproached here is Van der Sar, but Messi took him completely by surprise. He didn't expect Messi to head the ball in, and this goal completely killed the game. Ferguson cost him very quickly the mistakes he had in this game, either in the first goal because it came when United was playing better, but that still only seemed better because they were covering their shortcomings with physicality. And in the second goal, when he had just made a change that he really shouldn't have made. Immediately after the goal, Guardiola is so smart that he puts in Keita for Henry to strengthen the midfield even more, and even from here we see that. And even from this point onwards we see that Barcelona itself, instead of backing out completely, which he does end up doing at certain times because he is forced to, also has a lot of possession at other times, because this change by Guardiola allows him to do this. And it really was a masterclass from Guardiola, because Guardiola knew what to do at every moment of the match. Barcelona didn't get desperate, they were patient, and took their chances and killed the game off when they had to, while Ferguson did not know how to do anything else but look for balls over the top and wasted all the striker he had. That we can say that sadly Guardiola didn't have to worry about a Cristiano and Rooney because Ferguson ended up drowning them. But we must also understand that this happened because Barcelona had a very high level of play. So probably this strategy of Ferguson against another team would have worked perfectly. What happens is that we are with a Barcelona that was ahead of its time. Guardiola brought a level of organization, of clarity, thanks to the fact that he also had a spectacular generation of players, of which he was able to take advantage of their talent. And only they could give him something like this. It was a perfect blend where the sum of all the parts made us see this great team. A team that you couldn't give even the slightest space to, because they would kill you. A team that you could not make mistakes with. A team that forced you to be perfect. A team that forces the rest to give importance to each phase of the game. To every phase of the game, to every moment of the match, every pass, every play. But obviously United's good things allow us to realize that there is no invincible team, nor a completely perfect team. But Guardiola's Barcelona team was built to a much higher standard than at the time. Tactically, offensively, defensively, physically, and even mentally, it was a superior team to the rest. And as I say, more than a perfect or invincible team. It was a team that marked the evolution of modern football. Despite this, it wouldn't be long before Mourinho arrived to show the world to teach the world of football that beating Barcelona was not impossible and that there is no such thing as an invincible team. But that would be the subject of another video. What we have to keep in this one is that we saw a Guardiola debutant give him a tactical and footballing class, and even make a very big breakthrough in football against an experienced Ferguson, full of experience, full of titles, and really also with a historic and unrepeatable team for both Barca and United, because he destroyed another team that was also a monster in England, that had just come from being the Champions League winners, and marked an important point in football, the beginning of football evolution, and also the beginning of an epic battle between the two most important players in the history of this sport. Anyway friends, I hope you liked it. Please leave your like below, and if you want to continue having videos like this one, it would be of great help if you join as members, because these videos, no matter how many views they have, are not usually monetized. So if you want to see more videos like this, join as a member of the channel to be able to make videos like this one more frequently, even improve them, and be able to keep the goal, which is to make a weekly historical analysis. And if you join, you will be able to vote, and there will be more videos like this, not only of historical matches, but also of players and teams. If you join in Cruyffismo Tactico, you will be able to appear at the end of the videos and the credits. And in Clubismo you will have the option to suggest videos, which I will be able to put to vote. And you can have the opportunity that the video that you want me to make, if the majority of you like it, then we can do it and it can be the next one. I also leave you the option of PayPal, if you want to support through that means. And it also helps a lot if you can leave your like, and comment below what you thought. Don't forget to share and subscribe, because I'll see you in the next video.